such an asshole.
Hello, children. All right, continuing on. We got not necessarily a lengthy one, but it is multifaceted. This is not a straight shot, and the client here sends a very good question. So even though the question may seem meandering, and the answer is going to be meandering too, because this is not just 42. All right, good night, everybody. And the books that are germane to this, definitely the Book of Numbers, analyzing the ROI of the pursuit of women, because while it talks about gals in here, it also talks about just what a percent of low quality men there are. And just, you know, what percent are actually in the top 10. And then the book of, Bachelor Economics, that goes into how to improve your finances, which is, as you know, a very important variable in becoming a top 10 man or 10% man. Hi, Aaron. How's it going, man? I hope you're doing well. I'm back with another question and follow-up. So I saw your video. You don't want to be a 7 or 8 in SMV. I'm assuming you essentially mean that you have to be in the top 10% to have success with women. And if you're in the 65th to 90th percentile, it's actually worse because of the modicum of success you will have, leading to false hope. But the thing is, with 2/3 of men being overweight and a decent number without real jobs, liberal arts degrees, and God knows how many others with poor social skills due to parent coddling, porn, and video games, isn't it easier than ever to be in the top 10%? Logic would tell me that if you're in shape and have a real job with a solid income, you're already base level in the top 30% absolute minimum. Well, if you're just in shape, like if you're just not overweight, you are in the top 30% of both men and women, right? Roughly 70% of America are overweight. So if you're that, you're in the top 30%. And here's where all the variables come in. And if you look at this, I only focus on women 35 and younger for obvious reasons, because men generally aren't interested in women over 35. Sorry. At the same time, in intellectual honesty, I also only focused on men 45 and under here. And the younger you are, especially now, especially under 30, my gosh, there's a lot of men who don't have jobs. And this is a moving target. Like, we go back no more than 10 years ago, a lot more. The percentage of men who are quality were a lot higher. Now, both men and women are just going downhill. Everyone's going into the toilet. So this is like trying to shoot a moving target left-handed without a scope while I'm falling down. I don't know about you. I ain't no John Wick. So we're gonna hope we land in the ballpark on this one. Which is already probably a 6.5, 7.5 on the SMV. Here's another complication. Are we talking linear or Gaussian? See, because usually when people are talking with the numbers, we're talking about Gaussian, a Bell distribution, not a linear. Because what I would argue right now, to be a top 10% man, I mean, literally a top 10%, one in every, under 45 and under, not a lot. You're already in the top 30 if you're in shape. What percent of men don't work? What percent of men have their financial act together? I would argue unto you, without having, and we don't have the time and the money, but if we were to just ballpark it, and I think women will corroborate this. I'd love to hear women's opinion on this, because you're the ones going out there dating these guys. So you probably have more polling data, essentially, as it were, those selection bias. I bet you to be a top 10% guy, take the bottom guy. Let's say we top 10%, whatever amorphous intangible measurements that might be, from women applying it to men. And we separate the 90% of guys over here. The guy who is at the bottom of that 10%, I don't think he's dateable for most women. Because women already only find 20% of men attractive. I mean, now we got to factor in female preferences. And when you just start whacking away at these percentages, and it is listening, you get to fractions of 1%. But to be a top 10% guy, if I had to ballpark it, and we're talking linear, not Gaussian, linear, you're not fat. We're down to 30%. You have not even an average paying job. Like, you don't live at home and you make enough money to support yourself. I would say you don't collect a government check. And then maybe you, not no debt, but maybe the only debt you have is your mortgage, assuming you own a house. And that's going to put you, if not in, but close to the top 10% of men. And so, and I feel sorry for gals because I know we like to focus on just utter low quality women have become. Men have not improved in quality either. And so I could see where women are kind of like, I only insist on a top 10% men because these objective standards are kind of sane and reasonable. Has a job, doesn't live at home. Now, women love voting Democrat, but they probably don't want a guy who collects a government check, and they don't understand that contradiction, but neither here nor there. You got to be in physical shape. And, whereas a top 10% man circa 1947, be a very high quality man. Now a top 10% man, you have a wide range going all the way from, Hugh Jackman, who I put up there, rich, famous, very good looking, to the bottom guy on the 10%. I'll give you an example, okay? Let me give you an example. And it's not because I besmirch him. He's a great kid. I almost looked at him as like a little mentally impaired brother that I never really wanted. Jack Napier probably is in that top 10%, albeit on the lower end. He's not as famous as Hugh Jackman. He doesn't make that much money, but he has his financial act together. He's relatively young. He's in great shape, and he has a personality. Jack is in a linear top 10%, right? Maybe even higher because he's got personality and is independent and is self-employed. So actually, now I can't even use him as an example. So the top 10%, that is not as sexy as you think just to get across that threshold. I think your guy who isn't overweight, not ripped, not overweight, has a job and can support himself, has his financial act together, maybe has some debts, but has a reasonable debt to income ratio or debt servicing ratio, has kind of a real profession or job. That should a real profession or job. We use that. That's 10%, bottom 10%. But the variety, the diversity, the range from that all the way to a Sterling Cooper, a Troy Francis, a Rich Cooper, the George Clooney's of the world. There is a lot there. And then, as Fresh and Fit always point out, these girls are always looking up. So it could almost be, and we'd have to do some kind of scientific method, some kind of scientific measure, a lot of which is enumerated in the book of Numbers, of sit girls down like, okay, what are you willing to settle for? And then define what are the three variables. We're not making it more complicated than that. And then find out what I would not be surprised is that you almost have to be in single digits now. 7, 6, maybe even the top 5% of men. Because even from 10 to 5%, the 10th percent to the 5th percent, even they may not be quality. And certainly do not meet women's irrational and delusional hypergamic, I think it's hypergamic, standards, which you could make an argument is irrational, but your 10s and 9s percentages of men, that was average 40, 50, 60 years ago, that was average. So that's kind of where I'd be putting some numbers on with my mind doing all the work and just kind of ballparking it and taking that crazy John Wick shot with a tornado balloon behind me. So if you could talk about your thoughts in regards, that would be awesome. Yeah. Let's just answer your first question. It's going to take, by today's standard, a lot. Like to a young man today, let's say you're Gen Alpha, support yourself. God, watch the video I just did. Get a job. The indoctrination and the disadvantages and lack of a father, not just presence, but father investment. Fatherly investment. You have young boys being brought up to think they don't have to do anything. If you tell them, hey, go to the gym, that's like, oh, I mean, you might as well say swim into the moon. It ain't going to happen because they're not being brought up right. But to get to that at minimum top 10%, when you think about it, it's not that hard compared to what the rest of humanity has gone through. So be in shape, work out regularly. I'm not even talking like you got to get checked. Just don't be fat. Lift some weights occasionally. Diet correctly. Don't major in stupid crap. Get a job. Don't live at home and don't collect a government check. And then I would add, for good measure, have some kind of hobby or creativity or point purpose out of life, which you should be doing anyway. That'll put you in the top 10%. Then if you want to go beyond that, now you're going to, and I would, to finalize one final point, and this we do know, if you're at that 10 to 9 percentages or 8% and you want to get into the top 5, so the girls start working for you, you really are a high value man, the women are seeking after you, I would put your effort and times into physique and not money, because that's where women go. That's what women want. They will respond to that more because that's visceral. It's genetic. They want the alpha seed. They want the alpha man. And as you've seen before with financial degenerates and criminals, and I'm not talking people relatively innocent like drug dealers. I mean thugs, like real murderer type of people. The girls love themselves a bad boy. And so it is becoming a stronger jacked Hugh Jackman. Although he's a nice guy in the real life, that's what they're going. That is where your resources should go, especially the younger you are. But over time, when girls switch from epiphany to desperate stage, then yeah, you're going to have some kind of money. But even then, if you just want to get the girl and you're not looking for commitment, you need to be physical. So I would, to get into the top 10%, top 5%, regardless of what women say, you need to be in great physical shape. Not good, not very good. Excellent. Excellent. Oh, one very other important thing. Be tall. Okay. I don't want to see you guys being short anymore, right? You guys got to put your efforts, put the time in, do the work, and be tall, right? That's sadly, that's the other, and quite literally third as mere afterthought might be income, depending on the incentives and the goals of women at that time. So that's what I would say. Puts you at the top 10 versus 5%, linearly speaking. And I also have a follow-up question. What does it take to be a 9 or 10 on this SMV scale nowadays? I'm assuming you don't mean just in terms of looks, as there are genetic barriers to that. As a guy who's 5'10" in shoes and from South Asia, I doubt I'll ever be to the point where I could be a 9 and 10 looks-wise, no matter how much grooming or hitting the gym I do. However, if you mean overall, which is what I think you mean, I'd like to know what it takes to be in that range. Let's say in your late 20s, again, in your 30s, just as hypotheticals. Well, it all depends on again, a moving target and contingent on the woman. If you're jacked and you're in really good shape and I know you're Southeast Asian origin or descent, but in the United States, yeah, you're going to have to work harder. But if you go back to Southeast Asia, wherever, Thailand, wherever you're from, whoa, hey, the environment's changed. Now you are a top 10%. Also, what are the girls looking for? Let's say you're squarely 32. You're making $100,000 a year. You've improved yourself as much as you can. The 24-year-old girl who's in the middle of her master's program in storytelling is not going to care. She doesn't look at your income. Let's say she has a couple drinks in her. She's just looking for some fun. And she's going to look at your physique. Now, her older sister, who is 32, your age, she is not necessarily going to be looking at your physique as much as she is your income and intent. Like if you're on dates and you're going through here we could call this the axiom or maxim. I forget what the literal definition is. I've had my fun, time to settle down maxim. If the girl says, I've had my fun, it's time to settle down. After that, your income becomes way more important, and that changes your SMV. Before that, and it doesn't matter what age she is. This is just if a girl's looking to settle down, she ain't going to. Before that, she's still having your fun. Oh, yeah, physique all the way. You could be a degenerate piece of crap. You could still live at home in mind. If you got the weights, you got the good looks, they'll have a night with you, yeah. And your goals as well. What are your goals? Do you want to get married? Well, no, income is stability. You just want a night away. Hey, well, you're in college. Everyone effectively does live at home. Everyone does live off the government. So it's kind of a moving target there. And another thing that's going to determine it is the height of the gal. You're 5'10". That's great if the girl's 5'3". She'll go out with you. But if she's 5'8", 5'9", slightly taller gal, no. Every girl has a drastically, I'd say significant, not drastically, but a significantly to the order of even 3 points difference, where one gal solely based on height and where she is in life is going to rate you a 9, and a girl who's in a different height, different place in her life is going to rate you a 4. I could see a lot of variables depending on where women are in life, what their goals are at that point, and whether they are pre or post done with fun times, time to settle down, type of thing. That that would very much range. So you could kind of see it's a moving target. Do you actually have to be a 6-foot multimillionaire male, good-looking, smooth talker to be able to play an instrument and fly a plane to be a 9 or a 10? No, not a linear. It's the stars and the moons and the planets align. You can and cannot be a 9 and a 10 for a particular goal. Logically, that doesn't seem possible. There literally cannot be more than 0.01% of dudes who are single and fall into that category. I don't want to lose all hope. I've slept with close to 20 women. I've dated a few hotties, and I'm only 25. Good numbers. Those are good numbers. And this was in the past before I started making as much as I do now and taking care of my health as much as I do now. So I think there is plenty of upside. I've seen countless numbers of hot girls dating dudes who don't all blow me away. Yeah, well, where were they in their life? Were they looking for the fun guy? I always talk about if I were to ever go back to dating, my profile would be fun guy. Fun guy is for fun only, not serious or commitment. Do not introduce fun guy to mom. Fun guy does not go to family events. Take fun guy to a wedding and make the bride's gal jealous with his amazing ability to dance the salsa. Fun guy rides motorcycles, goes on hikes, gets you drunk, and will go out for ice cream and walks dogs. Contact fun guy today. Girl's going to look for fun guy. They're looking for fun guy. All of a sudden, you're like in a meeting and, Amy in the meeting, even though it's against HR taboo, like kind of, oh, wow. Bob, his name's not Bob. Bob's got his act together. He's been on, and now that I've had my 1 children from T-Rash, I got a buddy. Every girl loves T-Rash. They want his babies. They want his seed. T-Rash. And they'll always pine for T-Rash because he just T-Rash thrashed her in bed. You're not going to thrash her like T-Rash, but you got money. And then all of a sudden you start looking pretty good. She's got T-Rash's kid. Oh, by the way, T-Rash did not stick around to take care of the child. Hey, look. Disney made a movie called The Stepdad. I linked to it. And all of a sudden the downvotes started going down, and literally 2 days later, YouTube says, "Oh, we're getting rid of downvotes," and they ended the comments. So now we never know. Yeah, I'll finish off here. I've seen countless number of hot dudes. So I firmly believe it can be done, but tell me I'm off or naive. No, what you're trying to impossibly boil things down to one number. What's my SMV? Universally for all women of all types at all stages in their life. And that just does not exist. That does not, because it's dependent on another variable, another human, the girl. And what is she looking for at that point in time? And so I can't tell you what makes a top 10. Now, whether it's a linear, as I've defined before, profession, financial act together, and statistically you're a top 9 or 10%. Or top 10%er, right? That's an objective thing we could, based on looks, height, whatever else, you're in there. But in a Gaussian or theoretical, as you approach those limits in the theoretical 10, we kind of all know what that means. And it boils down to you're tall, you're very good looking, and you're in great shape. And I would argue that makes you a 10, at least in a sexual standpoint, statistically, a statistical standpoint, and I would say universally. A top 10% or top, the perfect 10 man, if you achieve those physical attributes, because women will totally throw away their, oh, well, I'm not going to, I'm done. I'm looking to settle down. No more games. You throw T-Rash in front of them. God, I hate to quote Rollo. They'll make rules for betas and break rules for alphas. You find a good enough guy, very few married women will remain loyal to their husband. It's just true. You throw a good enough looking guy, they'll go after Hugh Jackman. They'll break their vows. I'm absolutely convinced of that. So I never discount the value of physicality. All right. So you're 5'10", close but no cigar. You go back home to the home country, you'll do good. Yeah. But for every guy out there, yes, you go try to become a 10 Gaussian. You need to be in amazing physical shape. You need to be good looking. I'm not a big guy on clothes, obviously, or haircuts, obviously, but you need to look good. You need to look real good. So the girl doesn't even think and drops her in a bit and just wants your seed. It's all instinct. Welcome to the top 10%. And then if you're famous or known to be wealthy, or you display wealth, that doesn't hurt. But she's not going to get the VTs because you make 6 figs. That's not going to happen. She's going to want to viscerally F you. And once you get past that, the money might help. It might. But this is what, and man, it is a hard, it takes a lot. And it's impossible for some guys, especially if you're short, but that's where your game comes in and all that. And you might get yourself a 7 or 8, and then you might be in a relationship, and that's good. But if you want to be in a top percent, you want the girls doing the work for you, you got to look like Sterling Cooper or his leprechaun buddy. Not Jeremy Waller. Is it Jeremy Waller? Waller. Last name Waller. Look him up. The good-looking leprechaun. You just need to be, boom, there you are. That there. And that will, then you're in the top 10%. And I'd love to say it's all physical. But then down the road, if you want to get the older gals when they're trying to settle down, fine. Yes, then money becomes very important to those girls. Money and stability, yes. But they're not really into you for the sex now, are they? They're really into you for resources by that time. Which I understand. They don't want a financial deadbeat either. I get that. But yeah, yep, that's what it is. That's what it is. So I'm sorry. I wish I could give you the answer is 42. It depends on multiple variables, So there, get this book, The Book of Numbers. It'll put some numbers on that. Also, gentlemen, to help out your finances, Bachelor Economics, the Financial Advice Bible for Men. Please get that. Those links are down below. Do we have any super chats today in the $100 donation area? No, we don't. I don't think so. Bada boom, bada bing. Cappy can take off. I can get out of Dodge. And by get out of Dodge, do the next one. There we go. All right. See you guys later. Toodles.